this is Dr. Hobbolt, and I'm going to help you with this problem. The first question says, what is 60% of 400? So write this in your notebook. 60% of 400. You might have forgotten how to calculate percentages, and if so, that's okay. Remember, we can take, since a percentage is a ratio out of 100, we can take this 60% of 400 would be 60 over 100, and we can multiply that by 400. So then it becomes, it's kind of like 60 over 100 times 400 over 1. And how does fraction multiplication work? We can multiply the numerators. So 60 times 400. And we can multiply the denominators. 100 times 1. So then that quotient is going to be 6 times 4 is 24. We have 3 zeros total. And on the bottom we have 100. So 24,000 divided by 100. We can do that with mental math. That's going to be 240. So 60% of 400 would be 240. Now I'll actually just scroll down. Or I'll leave this here. I'll leave this here, and I'm going to start on the next problem. So I'm going to put a squiggle here to show that I'm moving on to the next one. So to get 60% of 200, you can just write this below where you have the other work in your notebook. So let's use that formula again. We would take 60 over 100 and multiply that by 200. So work this out in your notebook and then show me when you have it done. That'll be 60% of 200. So you can pause the video and work on that. Next, to find 60% of 120, we would go, 60% of 120. Well, that's going to be 60 over 100. And again, we multiply it by 120. So you'll be able to do those calculations in your notebook and show me when you're done so I can give you some hero points. You need to enter a number in as the answer though. This expression, at first Desmos will tell you got it right, but then I'll go check it and you won't receive credit if you don't enter a number. So make sure you actually evaluate that expression. Okay, so next it says 60% of x is equal to 87. So let's write an equation that expresses the relationship between 60% x and 87. So first, let's come up with an expression for 60% of x. How would we find 60% of x using our formula? Well, that would be 60 over 100 times x. So if 60% of x is equal to 87, that would be 60 over 100 times x equals 87. So this would be an example of an equation that expresses that relationship. And for the next part, we want to actually solve the equation. So if we saw this just as its own equation, what would we do in a similar problem? Well, since the coefficient on x is 60 over 100, we would divide both sides by that coefficient. So let's divide both sides by 60 over 100. So when we do that, we get that x is equal to 87 divided by 60 over 100. Now let's keep calculating this out, so make sure you're writing this down with me. That would mean that x is equal to 87. And actually, let's write this as a fraction division problem. So let's rewrite as fraction division. So a fraction divided by a fraction. That's what we want to rewrite. So how would we write 87 as a fraction? If we write 87 as a fraction, that's like 87 over 1. Now we divide by 60 over 100. And what do we do when we divide by a fraction? How does that work? We keep the dividend the same. So 87 over 1 doesn't change. And then we multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So this will be 100 over 60. So that quotient would be 87 times, or that product be 87 times 100 over 1 times 60. So when you do these calculations, you would have 8,700 over 60. And for this one, we'll actually go ahead and put it in a calculator. So you can use the Desmos Scientific Calculator. And I forgot to put my X here. So when you do this, you should get that X is 145. So try that in your calculator, 8,700 divided by 60. Make sure you get 145. If you have all of this written down in your notebook, plus the solution to the equation, go ahead and show me so I can give you some hero points, because you've been working hard and I want to reward you for it. Thanks for working this problem with me. I hope it'll help you be successful.